Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be doing another video here with the current climate and circumstances. I thought this would be extremely necessary to address. We've been getting a flood of questions and curiosities and people asking, is this going to happen? What do you think about this? How can this be going on? How are you still making profits? A ton of questions, a ton of inquiries. So we're going to be addressing it in this video. We're going to be tackling everything. And if you do have any other questions and further interests or anything at all, you can always comment down below and we will get back to you as soon as possible. You can comment down below in the YouTube comments. You see headlines like, jobs reports lowest since the Great Depression and things of that nature, but you have to realize that, when the economy does reopen, those jobs will come back a lot faster, almost 100% because of the nature, right? So most people are simply on a temporary leave or were, furloughed, but they didn't actually get fired or completely laid off. I know that there has been layoffs, but the economy will come back to a near 100%, and you don't necessarily have to be terrified or scared when you see headlines like that because it's not an actual representation. But we're going to be going, I have some notes here. So why there's no impact and we are still profiting as usual. That is the title I decided to make this because I think it really addresses everything that people were asking about. When you see the profits that we keep posting, whether it be through the email or on Facebook, social media, and you see all these profits, but how could that be happening, right? How can we still be making profits, and how is there no impact to this business? When you see entertainment industry destroyed, how could that be happening? Well, many different factors. I wrote it all down here for you, and let's dive right in. So first thing you have to realize, this is simply because there are millions more fans than there are tickets, and the alerted events are only scheduled, planned events. These are only events that are set to happen, events in the future. People think we buy events that are happening tomorrow or tonight. That's not how the business works. That's a common misconception, and I actually did a video a while back about the common misconceptions about the business. I'll link that down below in the description. You can see that in the description of the video. Nonetheless, that is not how the business works. We don't buy events that are happening in an hour. We buy events that are far out in advance. That is exactly what we do. So there hasn't been any changes whatsoever. It's really no different than before everything. We only buy in advance on the pre-sale to get in before anyone else, and often at a discounted price. We never buy events that have been long on sale. So these are events, where the on sale or pre-sale happened a long time ago and they've been long on sale. The event maybe is going to occur soon in the next couple weeks, couple months, whatever it might be. They're events that have already been long on sale. So there are dozens of new tours being announced every single solitary week, even at the crux, the apex, when it looked like our country was going to absolute dust and there was no hope, no faith whatsoever, and you saw insane numbers of death. There were still tours being announced. So people don't realize this. They just think they see one headline or one story or one aspect or one point of view. They don't look at the macro, the point of view that even the Spanish flu, which was horrible, it killed, wiped out tens and tens and tens of millions of people, the country still came back soon after. Yes, there were world wars, but we don't have to worry about that anymore. World War III is not coming anytime soon, so there's nothing to worry about. There are still tours being announced every single week. You have to look at it through all lenses. So if you just simply go to Ticketmaster.com, you will see tons and tons and tons of events in almost every state and every country in the entire world. Tens and tens and tens of thousands of events being announced all over the world. People do not look at everything. People can often be oblivious, ignorant, so you have to look at something through the macro and look at all points of view. You can look on Ticketmaster, see all of them announced, the recent announced dates or just announced. You just go to Ticketmaster.com, it's all there, you'll see it there, and you still receive the same amount of alerts. Nothing has changed whatsoever. Even at the heart of the pandemic, the absolute worst, you still receive the same amount of alerts. So, people just simply do not realize, they don't inquire, they don't ask questions, they just assume something. And, one of the important rules of life is not to have extreme views. That is one of the things that can often set people back, make people have bad selective biases. So you can't just automatically assume or presume something. You have to ask questions, you have to inquire. And so that's why if you look at Ticketmaster, you'll see there's new concerts being announced all the time and you still receive the same amount of alerts. That was true before the pandemic. That was true at the very, very, very top and crux of the pandemic, and it's still true now as I'm filming this, and it will still be true as you're watching this video. Nothing will change, nothing has changed, it is all the same. And as crazy as it sounds, the virus is actually helping. As insane as it sounds, it's actually helping concentrate the demand. It's going to one place, it's going to one event, so it actually is helping. These are actually good times. We're actually thriving during these times, believe it or not. And so it's concentrating the demand into one specific area, one specific venue, as opposed to many, many events happening all spread out through certain counties and areas and districts. And so that's why it's actually helping and concentrating that demand, which only boosts our profits even more. It's a classic idea of supply and demand, and that's how the business is. Everything is the same as normal, and the next alert will be coming out soon to buy, list, and profit on. And depending on when you're watching this, you'll actually still be able to qualify for that Easter special. And so depending on what date or when this video comes out, it should still be available. You'll still qualify for the Easter special. Obviously, if you're watching this in 6 months from now, it will not be available, but there are still some spots, so you still may qualify for it. And it all goes back to this. Selling time doesn't depend on when the date of the event is. So selling time depends on the profit margin that you're going for. If you're going for a 500% profit on a pair of tickets, it ain't because the event is happening in a few months. It's because of your profit margin. So it's all dependent and contingent on the profit margin attached to your tickets. So you can go for super fast flips at smaller profits, which is definitely doable, or you can go longer for a larger profit, or you can go somewhere in the middle, depending on what your preferences are, depending on your starting budget, depending on the type of investor that you are, things of that nature. So we never buy for events happening in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. As I mentioned, all events we are purchasing for are set to happen and occur. The date of the event does not necessarily matter. For example, you can buy tickets for an event happening next year and 2 years from now and still sell them soon after purchase. It all goes back to that profit margin. Now, there are always millions more fans than there are tickets, and these venues have very small and little capacities. You take a look at some of these theaters. Say the theater holds 3,000 to 5,000 people. 3,000 to 5,000. If an artist has a social media following of, say, 2 million, granted that it is dispersed, but the event is going to sell out. You don't have to have an event sell out 100% to be profitable. It's also one of the common misconceptions. You could have an event sell out 90%, 80%, the seats and the nosebleeds, and you could still make a great, great profit on that event. So you just have to look at everything through a bird's eye point of view. Very important. On occasion, yes, we will adjust the price for a smaller profit, but that's pandemic or not. That's crisis or not. That's normal. That's just something that happens. It's natural. You adjust the price, the market fluctuates, you look at other sellers in your section, very normal, nothing taboo. For example, in real estate, and this is a good comparison because it's very true when it comes to real estate. One of the keys to building wealth in real estate is buying a certain type of property. Not every property is going to make you money, and that's the same for tickets. Just because there is an event happening doesn't mean it's profitable. You have to evaluate it and look at it, and that's what the alerts are there for, is to help you and predict that profitability. In real estate, same thing. You can't just buy any property in any location. Just because it is real estate doesn't mean it's good, cash flowing, profitable real estate. There's certain types of real estate. So in real estate, if you own a middle income home, these are homes for people of the middle class, not the poorest of the poor and not the richest of the rich. It's in the middle. Your typical multifamily or single unit, typical middle income home. Owning middle income homes are strongly encouraged, even by the great investor, one of the richest people on the planet, Warren Buffett. He is a strong advocate and proponent of, and specifically, middle income homes. He has a large portfolio of middle income homes. In fact, the home he lives in is still the same middle income home. Now why? This is because they are recession proof. And by the way, if you just look at a metric like the Dow, it could be a lot worse. That I could tell you. If you look at the Dow and how much it is down right now, today was up specifically at the time I'm filming this, but if you look at the Dow, it's down less than 20%. That is just a normal correction bear market territory. That is not a depression per se. That is not a 50% loss like we saw during the 2008 bubble. This is something that's quite normal, frankly. In fact, we saw worse in 2018. There were talks of the trade war with China. So this is because they are recession-proof, because even if the entire middle class's income tanks and they're forced to live in very, very poor units, or even all hell breaks loose and they're forced to live in shelters, the upper class, and we're not talking, people with net worths of billions of dollars, we're just talking upper class, say the high 6 figures, low 7 figures, the upper class in this scenario, will then be forced to move into those units, the middle income units. So the middle class goes out and then the upper class goes back in. And this could actually be applied to ticket flipping. It's a very similar scenario. Not everyone will be able to afford tickets. That's just simply the fact. There's not everyone in the world can afford them. Some people are unfortunately in not as good circumstances and not as fortunate. But that's true at all times. There's still an entire group of people that can, right? So when that entire upper class tanks and they're forced to go into the middle units, the same can be applied with ticket flipping. When the entire upper class tanks, they're now, let's say, earning about middle income. They still have some cash flow from their investments. They still make something, and it's just about what the middle class will make. And that's the same scenario with real estate. So there is still an entire group of people, a large one that is, that can afford it. And pandemic or not, a lot of alerted events are for pop artists that of course attract younger people, right? Younger people like mostly pop artists. Of course you get some older people in there, but they attract a lot of young people. If you go to any concerts, say like Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift, you're gonna see mostly a younger demographic, right? Well, how do those people afford those tickets, right? Even the economy is thriving and it's the best economy that has ever been in the entire history of the planet. Well, how do those young people, how would they get to those seats? So whether it be through their parents, they have a job, they have a part-time job, they have some cash saved up, pandemic or not, how are those younger people in those seats when they're the lowest of income brackets out of all the demographics? So you have to look at all points of views. Young people are in the lowest of income brackets out of all the demographics, yet still make an effort to do whatever they can to see their favorite artists and bands. These events sell out. These pop artists, they bring in all these young people, and they still manage to sell these venues 100%. So how is that possible? It's because they still have the money. So even if people have no money, there's still people that can go to concerts, and there's people that make an effort to go to concerts. So we have sold tickets for thousands of dollars per ticket with no issues, and that is the same case till this day. So in short, yes, you still receive the same amount of alerts. That number hasn't changed. You will still be able to purchase for events and buy many, many tickets for each event for that matter. For each alert, you can usually buy dozens of tickets, usually about 30 to 50 tickets for each event that's alerted. And with that being said, there is no changes. It's the same exact process that we're doing. It's the same exact buying and listing. We haven't changed up our strategy. There's not a drastic change of rules and regulations. It's still the exact same ABC process that we've been doing for years now. In fact, now is actually, if anything, is the best time to get into the business. It's a very evergreen business, right? There's always events happening. There's always events going to happen. It's a very evergreen business. There's always something happening, the next tour, the next new album, the next up-and-coming artists, the next underground artists, the next farewell tour from older artists. There's always something happening. It's a business, right? That's how they do it. They make money. And if you'd like to join, the link will be down below in the description. You might have to expand it if you are on mobile. Might have to just expand the description and you'll see it there. And we'll also put it in the comments down below. So if you can't find it there, you'll find it in the comment section. So if you have any further comments or questions, you always comment down below and we will get back to you as soon as possible. But with that being said, now is actually the perfect time to join because you can get in on some cheaper prices. There are some cheaper prices you might see for tickets. Some of the alerts might be for smaller venues, which tend to bring those cheaper prices as well. So anything you need to know, you can always comment down below. But anywho, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like the video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can be sure to subscribe to the channel so that way you don't miss any future videos. And you can hit that notification bell as well so that way you're notified every time there's a new video. But thank you for watching and see you in the next one.